good afternoon, everybody. It is another episode of Mish Mash Men, and accompanying me, as usual, the other Mish or Mash, I'm not sure which, is Dusty Labar.
Hello, everybody. I am Dustin Labar.
So we're going to do something a little bit different on this podcast. I don't know if you've noticed, by the way, to the viewers, the YouTube viewers, we have these fantastic shirts on.
Oh, good point.
And is our first printing. We printed 3. We've got one for Dusty, one for me, and we have one for our creator of the logo, my daughter Abby, who did a lot of work and continues to do a lot of work for the podcast.
She does. And I know she loves where I'm sitting right now.
She does. She likes that the bearded one is on that side, the mustachioed one is on this side, opposite of the logo.
In another universe, maybe I'm sitting in the right spot.
It's bizarro.
It's bizarro world.
It's bizarro. So this, but welcome to the podcast. We are excited. We're getting great feedback. We enjoy seeing that feedback, and we're enjoying getting more comfortable at this. There's a certain optimization that occurs over time, and I think we're finding that groove.
I agree.
So without further ado, this one's going to be a little bit different. This is more of story time.
I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, so this will be a little bit different. I'm excited about it as well. It's a story that I've told several times. And this will be a bit more detail. But have you ever moved?
Yes, I have moved a couple times actually.
Yeah,
and pretty big moves, several hours away.
Yeah, those are fun, aren't they? They are challenging.
They are. Once you get into your story, I'll tell you part of my moving story from Pennsylvania to Myrtle Beach with Laura because it's pretty funny.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm sure it'll be good. It might be better than this one.
Probably not, but.
So this move, the move I'm describing, I was still in the Army then. We were down near Dothan, Alabama, and we, when I say we, it was Jennifer, my wife, me, and we had 6 kids at the time. Yeah. It's already good.
Yeah, it's a lot to move.
It's already good. And, you know, when you have 6 kids, the Army moves you, but there are limitations to how much that they'll move.
Okay.
And we get pretty close to that. It's equated in pounds. And to couple that, pounds of goods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like they're not weighing your family.
They don't weigh the family.
Okay.
But, you know, the family, we all have clothes, believe it or not.
That's fair.
All of us.
Yep.
And so anyway, we also had become farmers, like homestead farmers, not a real farmer like James, our friend from the gym, but farmers where we had, at the time I had a 30-acre place. About half of it was fenced pasture. The other half was like riding trails.
Okay. This is in Dothan.
This is down near Dothan, at a town called Newton, Alabama.
Okay, I've heard of that.
And pretty close to Fort Novacell. They just changed the name. It used to be Fort Rucker. Now it's Fort Novacell. And so we had our own cattle that we used for beef, and we also had some Jersey cows that we used for milk.
Okay.
We had chickens at the time, maybe 50 or 60 layers, and a handful of roosters. Roosters add value in the way they keep order. The roosters do, and they encourage egg production. We had honeybees.
Oh.
I had one livestock guardian dog, a Great Pyrenees.
Okay.
We had 2, but one of them got hit by a car or shot. Not sure which. We found him, but anyway, and we had a barn cat.
Okay.
And plus all our household goods, you know, clothes and furniture and that sort of thing. And we also had the stuff that you have when you have a farm like that. So I built a milk stanchion.
Okay.
Out of cedar. It's a great milk stanchion where you take the cow in, put the cow so that they get attracted to the feed. They know it's milk time, and then it locks the cow's head in there so she can't pull away when she's done eating.
Gotcha.
For milking, and just accessories, lawnmowers, that sort of thing. All the stuff that you have when you have a house plus farm, a pseudo farm or a homestead farm. So I sold off many of the cattle that we had, and then butchered 1 or 2 so that we had the meat, because we were moving that up separately. And so now we're ready to move. We sold that place. I had picked out a place up here, an 18-acre place up near Ardmore, pretty close to where you live.
So you still had, at this point some animals you needed to bring with you.
I had some animals.
Like, okay.
So I had, I was keeping 4. I can't remember what the breakdown was. It might have been 1 bull and 3 cows.
Okay. And this, and the government or the army is.
They're not moving it. So
Okay.
one of the 2 things you can do for a military move is you can have the government move you where they contract with whatever.
Okay.
And then they pack up your stuff and move you. And we were at a stage where it would be best to it's called a do-it-yourself move.
Okay.
And you get reimbursed because you're doing all the work now.
So they pay you, they give you the money back and you do all the work. They
Yeah.
don't hire somebody. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so what we did, ABF, they're a freight company.
Mhm.
They do this thing where they drop off trailers, closed trailers, semi-tractor trailers.
Mhm.
The short ones, because ABF does a lot of times the double pull. So they loaded up. We thought we could get it all in one set, but we couldn't. We had to get it in 2. So we packed up, and I'd moved so many times. I can pack a trailer.
Okay.
Pretty good, not too shabby, and it runs in my blood. My dad showed me how to do this. He helped me. I helped him. My grandfather, he was part of a moving business.
Is it not a male point of pride to be able to pack a trailer the most efficient way?
100%.
Yeah, because it's like if you see somebody that you're helping move and they're like taking the lead in packing,
Yeah.
and they're doing a terrible job.
Yeah, they're bringing chairs in first.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah. Let's get the small stuff in first. You're like, oh my God.
that's always fun, helping someone move. You know who your friends are when they.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you know those friends are going to have beer at the end of it and enjoy it. Because you helped us move up to
I did.
to Elkmont. Yeah.
We were halfway to Nashville, actually.
We were halfway to Nashville.
So anyway, we had friends help us load up, very good friends. And I sold off animals, sold off chickens or gave away chickens because I was trying to get rid of them all. We couldn't do that. So now we're at a point where we're ready to move up. Before I get there, we picked out a place up here. And it's hard to find a place that's big enough to have our cows, that's fenced pasture, but isn't like a full-fledged, like a working, like industrial family.
How many acres do you need per livestock, like cow? Do they need a certain amount? Like I know a horse needs like at least one horse needs like 1 or 2 acres to like make it make sense.
Yeah.
To graze on, or does that not matter?
It depends on how much work you're willing. There are schools of thought. It's called management intensive grazing.
Okay.
And we looked into that. There are things that you can do on very small amounts of land.
Okay.
If it's labor intensive, but you can manage that animal. That ruminant animals are much better than horses in this instance. I haven't even looked at horses. Horses are just eating machines. They eat and they ruin pasture because the way their hooves are designed, they're flat.
So horses probably require more land than
They
a
do.
cow does. Gotcha.
But cows, their hooves, they're ruminants, so their hooves are split, and they naturally aerate the soil.
Okay.
So it encourages grass growth, especially if it's managed intensively.
Okay.
I never got to that point because you have to have like electrical fencing, and you have to train them to manage because there's an optimal grass height.
Okay.
To get the optimal nutrition from the grass.
My God.
And it's also the sweetness of the grass to the cow.
Okay.
When you're doing that management intensive grazing.
All right. Sorry, I interrupted, but you said so it was hard to find a place.
Yeah. So we found a place, and it was a beautiful place. It was even much nicer, bigger house than that we were moving into. Smaller acreage, but we're not using the 15 acres that we had up there that were fenced pasture. Again, 30 acres total, but 15 fenced. So we had 18 acres total.
Okay.
Including the house grounds. And we had to get some, I paid a fence guy to do some internal fencing because it was just outside perimeter fencing. There was no internal fencing to keep the cows from just eating the flowers in your flower beds. But that didn't happen beforehand. But I did an inspection. I talked to the owner because we were under contract now. Can I do a walking inspection to fix any fencing because I'm going to bring cows up
Right. It's
at
got to
some
be ready
point.
when I get there.
Yeah. And I walked the perimeter, almost the entire perimeter, and it was a beautiful area because it was like a creek. It was a spring that filled this creek area.
Okay.
So there was fresh water there for the cows to eat, to consume. Woods. It was a beautiful area. Walked the whole area. I had to repair some fence in the back.
Okay.
The back 40. And my son and I took a trip up and we repaired that. It wasn't that hard, but added a little bit of extra, that T-posts and some fencing, and we were ready to move up. But so back to the move.
Yeah.
We got everything loaded up, with 6 kids. Now my son at the time was 17, so a huge help.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a help on this move because we were in speech and debate. He was.
Okay.
And he was in the national speech and debate finals up in, I think, Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So he's not here.
Gone.
Yeah. And the next girl down, today's her birthday. Jessica's just turned 23. I'm sorry, on the recording day, the 23rd.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the 5th. She just turned 23. She, 12 years ago, so she wasn't that old.
Yeah.
So a bunch of little kids. She was a great help with the really small kids, but lifting stuff, not so much. And we get everything loaded up. Some friends came over to help us out. We're just basically leaving whatever chickens we don't have. And so now we're loaded up. We've got 2 vehicles.
Okay.
I've got my farm truck, which had this fantastic 7.3-liter diesel engine.
Okay.
Just a beautiful engine in this truck that had been repurposed. That engine got bought, crate motor, and put into this older model Ford. And on the back of that, I had the trailer that I was pulling with the milk stanchion, the lawnmowers, the just junk that you have in a barn.
Yeah. This is stressing me
Actually,
right now just hearing about it.
That was, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So that actually I had the cows. I had 4 cows. I had a 4-place trailer that I'm pulling in my truck. And I also had the bees that we sealed up.
Okay.
And we sealed them up the night before so they're not going to come out. And they're going to be fine. The bees are in the back of the truck. I had the stray chickens that we could gather up, a rooster and, 5 or 6 hens. They were in the back enclosed. I had my livestock guardian dog, and I had a cat in the cab with me.
Okay.
The cat and the dog, other than a barn, they had never been indoors ever.
Gotcha.
So they're not used to being in cramped quarters. No air conditioning, and it's June in Alabama.
Good.
So it's a sweet, sweet move. My wife was now pulling that milk stanchion trailer. It's a 16-foot trailer we had open. We looked like the Clampetts, if you're familiar with the Beverly Hillbillies.
Was somebody sitting on top of the shotgun?
No, but not at that point. And we also had firearms that
perfect.
Loaded up, not at the ready, but we had a bunch of clothes that we just wanted to take from that we're going to be wearing.
Mm-hmm.
The kids were in the Suburban with my wife, who was pulling that trailer with all that stuff. And off we go. It's like 5 o'clock at night by the time we finished up the loading and got out of there.
Right.
The ABF guy had taken the rest of the stuff, and that was going to go for about a week or so, and then we were going to get it.
Okay.
So we're off. And it's a 4.5-hour trip normally.
Mm-hmm.
No trailers, no encumbrances.
Right.
And here we go in June in Alabama. And we take off, and it's about the halfway mark is about Montgomery. Because you're just taking a state highway up, 231, taking that up to Montgomery, drive through the city. We're getting lots of looks. It's this caravan of, again, we just look like hillbillies.
You have a farm. You're transporting a farm, basically.
I'm transporting a farm. Yeah. And the dog and the cat are going nuts. It stinks. And I have to roll up the windows every time I get, at a stoplight because the dog's like, okay, it's time to get out. I hate this. And the cat was not having
Great Pyrenees are pretty big dogs.
They're big dogs,
they're
and they're triple coated. They just have just 3 coats of hair, and the cat wanted nothing to do with it, but they just kind of laid in the floorboard whenever I was moving.
Gotcha.
We get through the city of Montgomery, and we get on the highway, I-65, and we're tooling along. And the truck is like,
oh boy,
the engine is just running like a top.
Yeah.
But there's this thing in vehicles. So you have an engine.
Yep.
And you have wheels. But how do you get that? How do you transmit the power from the engine to the wheels? There's 2 linkages, main linkages. Yep.
The drive shaft.
Well, drive shaft, but then you have a transmission that transmits that power through the drive shaft down to the differential. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently my transmission was not as good as the engine.
Oh, boy.
So we're off on the side of the road. The engine's running great, but I can't transmit power. That beautiful engine to the wheels.
So it's doing something, and are you starting to get concerned now?
Well, my concern was we're now on the side of the road and I can't move.
So you're totally immobile.
We are immobile.
Gotcha.
It's not like we're going slow. It's like we're not going.
So you're stopped completely.
We are stopped on the side of the road.
Gotcha.
On I-65, it's the halfway point, so it's maybe 7 o'clock.
Okay.
At night in June.
Oh my God.
And So I've got this, I'm towing 4 cows. I've got the chickens. I got the honeybees. I got the dog and a cat. The Suburban, it's got 3 rows of seating, but the back row is like folded up because we have so many clothes because it's going to be a while. And here we are. So I call up my insurance company. I'm like, hey, because I'm thinking, okay, I've seen these tow platforms, right? So you could just pull the truck up.
Yeah, like a low boy. Just
Yeah.
pull the whole thing up on
Just
it.
pull it up there, and then off we go.
Yeah.
So I call up my insurance company, tell them the deal. Great insurance company. But there's laws against having live people or animal, anything living on one of those. You cannot pull, like even the official tow trucks, tow platforms, nothing. You cannot do that.
Understand. Okay.
So pretty depressing to hear that. So the insurance company, she's calling around, just calling tow companies, like, can you help us out? These guys are stuck on the side of the road. He's got a bunch of small kids. I can't remember what the ages are now. But
so did you have some kids in the truck and some in the Suburban? All of them fit in the Suburban?
All of them fit in the Suburban. So my wife and my daughter in the front seats, and then I had my son, Andrew, he was off in Boston.
Okay, that's right.
And the rest of the kids were in the middle seat.
Yeah. Floating in the back there.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
With a bunch of clothes in the back.
Gotcha.
So here we are. So so now, like, I don't know what we're going to do. I can't remember how long we were stuck on the side of the road. It felt like days, but it was maybe 2 hours max.
God. Well, still, I mean.
It was just, so I'm talking to the insurance agent. Thank God for cell phones.
Yes.
Yeah. Because otherwise, it would have been me walking.
You would have had to walk to wherever the next
payphone.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. Because surely that's happened in the history of time, and people are just like, I got to go walk now to wherever the next exit is.
Yeah, and get a ride.
Yeah, my God.
So we get the insurance company, the lady that's doing all this coordination. I wish I knew her name. She was an angel to us and just really helped us out. She called and found a tow company that, his brother-in-law had a truck that had a trailer, and they were willing to just tow us up, tow the truck up, and get another truck to tow the trailer.
Hook the trailer up.
And then we would just drive up and follow them in the Suburban that's towing the Jed Clampett mobile trailer that we've got.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, that's great. So now I've got to take, because I can't have any living animals in this vehicle.
So to be clear, you pulled off to the side of the road.
Yeah.
And then Jen also pulled off to the side of the road.
Yeah, she's staying on the side of the road.
So you got, it's the family, all the animals, everybody's pulled off on the side of the road.
On the side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
For multiple hours.
For multiple hours. Who knows how long. Now, cows, they are sturdy beasts. I mean, they can go without water for a couple hours. Chickens, not so much.
Right.
But I got no way to get water unless we start driving around looking for stuff. And the honeybees will be fine.
Okay.
Because honeybees, they go to bed at night when it's dark. They're nested or whatever it is. And then what you do is you seal their opening shut.
Okay.
So we sealed them up the night before, and so they were in there. They were self-sufficient for some amount of time.
Good. Okay.
So the guys show up, and it's the guy that owns the business plus his brother or brother-in-law, whatever, and his wife. And tell them the deal. They're like, oh, man, this
stinks.
This looks bad. In the meantime, I've got to get now my dog and cat, barn animals.
Right.
Like livestock guarding dogs, if you don't know anything about livestock guarding dogs, they're outside animals. They're never inside.
Right.
They've never been indoors other than the barn. That's as good as indoors as they get. And with that triple coat in Alabama, she doesn't smell delicious. She's unpleasant.
Yeah.
So we I've got to do a whole bunch of rearranging in the back of the Suburban now.
Okay.
And I'm like moving.
Oh, because you got to take the dogs with you now. The dog and the cat. Oh my God.
So I get them all in there, and the kids are helping me out. But it's a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
There's some in diapers, and then there's a bunch of little ones.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's helped me out. She's she's being a real trooper, and she's rock solid the whole time.
Yeah.
Rock solid. While I'm trying to sort all this stuff out, and so I get the dog in the back. Get the cat in there, and the cat, cats, they just do their own thing.
Right.
So the cat's just roaming around and, clawing people and stretching out.
Yeah.
But she's just happy because she's in cooler air.
Right.
They hook up the trailer that I've got the cattle in,
right.
and they hook up my truck and get that ready to tow. We are finally, and they asked us, hey, are you guys hungry? You want to stop and eat? We're like, yes.
Oh, boy.
Like, I'm not a huge McDonald's fan.
Yeah.
But I would have eaten anything. So like, okay, the next stop, whatever they have.
Yeah,
I'll even eat at Jack's. Jack's is trash. But McDonald's.
I'd even eat at Jimmy John's.
Maybe. I don't think I have the credentials, the academic credentials.
No, you sure don't. You sure don't. You're right. Yeah.
So we get like literally like, okay, I get into Suburban. I did the final instructions. They saw on the map where we're headed, up our address up there. I don't remember what time it is. It's now getting really dark. And we agreed the next exit up is a McDonald's, and we're going to eat there. And like everybody's good to go. There's no one like we were disappointed, but even keeled.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like you get it settled, like, okay, problem is now resolved, and we're going to execute this plan that we've got.
So I just want to be clear. So these guys that are towing your vehicle and your trailer are also going to stop at McDonald's, or they're just going to?
Oh yeah,
they're like, I'm also.
They're hungry too.
Okay, okay. So this is going to be a parade going into McDonald's. Gotcha.
A convoy.
A convoy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I get in the Suburban, close the door, and I look over at Jennifer, and then she loses it, just completely starts bawling, crying. I'm like, you know, we're done now. All we got to do is like just drive another 2 hours. It took a lot longer than that, but she just had to get it out of her system.
Yeah. It was stressful.
It was very stressful. And she's like, most of the time, like even keeled, and then she found the drop off once she know that, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And of course the girls are starting to cry, and I'm like, you know, hey, we're almost there. Yeah. All we got to do is now drive. That's it. That's it. And eat at McDonald's. So, so we get going on the road after our trip at McDonald's, and you know, it's just, I'm already tired enough because we've been loading an ABF trailer all day long, loading up animals and getting animals. I didn't have a corral. Getting animals, cattle inside, especially a bull, inside of a 4-place trailer is no easy task. It is not easy.
I just want to be clear. I've moved a couple times with, I'm going to say, 90% less things than you just described. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine doing the normal house stuff and then a farm.
So when you said, hey, can you help me move? I'm like, yeah.
You're like, you mean have a nice relaxing afternoon?
Like it's moving furniture? Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxes?
You're like,
I'm there.
Do you have any cows? Or
are there bees?
Yeah. I draw the line at bees.
So, well, there's more.
Okay, great.
So,
oh, boy.
So we get driving again on the road, and it's taken forever because it's a convoy.
Right.
Plus, it's trailers. It's not something you can just like buzz through traffic, especially Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to go through Birmingham. So we finally get up to the exit, and we head over to our. It's not too far from where you live now.
Okay.
Nice area, beautiful. And we pull in, and I show them that because there's a gate on the driveway.
Okay.
And which was open, but now I got to close that up, and then I'm gonna release the trailer so they can take off. I pay them, and it was not cheap.
I bet it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not cheap. I'm usually a healthy tipper, but the amount they charged me to do that, I wasn't as generous with my tipping.
Are we talking Todd Slyman money? Is that what we're saying right now?
Maybe not Todd Slyman, but definitely Chris Mason level of dough.
So it was just straight cash, multiple tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, I wrote a check.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, usually I'll write a check, but then tip is usually cash. But I wasn't being Mr. Generous that night just because it was like,
that's fair.
It's
so
a lot.
Did you know how much money it was going to be before you took off, or when they got there, they were like, this is how much it is?
I knew how much the insurance company was going to charge.
Okay.
You know how much they would cover.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, hey, it's basically we're doing this thing, and then we're going to do this extra thing.
Okay.
And so it was worth their while. I will say that. And they didn't, it wasn't like they didn't take advantage of me.
Okay.
But
it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money.
I gotcha.
And I gladly paid it.
Sure.
I willingly paid it.
Yeah, at that point, you're not going to like nickel and dime the guy.
I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Don't I get the friendly face discount?
Yeah. I've had a very stressful day. Jen, come over here and cry.
Remember that I gave you a nugget. So that's like a chicken nugget. That's worth at least $1.
Yeah.
So we get, they dropped the trailer where I asked them to. I paid them, sent them on their way. It's like 2 a.m. And we get,
it's what time?
About 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
So now Jen and I have this extra work. So I let the cows out.
Sure.
And cows, they are interesting. James will tell you this. They are when they're in a new place, they inspect the perimeter.
Okay.
They just want to know where the fence is, where the line is.
Okay.
So as soon as they get out, they just start. They go right to the fence and they just start. You can see them walking.
Perimeter. Gotcha.
And so they're good to go. There's water at the creek, so I don't have to worry about setting up a water place.
That's nice.
So they're good to go. And it's good water too. It's not like standing water.
Yeah.
It's not fast moving, but it is moving.
Yeah.
And I open up where I had the chickens stored. Chickens didn't make it. They gave up the ghost. Yeah, there wasn't that many. It was kind of disappointing.
They didn't make the drive.
They didn't make the drive.
Gotcha.
And I felt really bad about that because that I was a steward of these animals and I failed the chickens.
Gotcha.
And now we're going to move bees. And bees, that was my wife, Jennifer, and our daughter, Jessica. That was their thing, the bees. I was the laborer. I was like, move this and move that. I didn't have a suit. I didn't have the gloves.
So you were taking care of the bees without any protection? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Well, now, remember, they're sealed up.
But I mean in general.
In general.
You didn't have, when you were taking care of the bees on a normal basis.
Well, I didn't normally care for them. I would have like a set of gloves, but I wasn't in there like fiddling around with their stuff.
Okay.
Jennifer would do that. And then,
gotcha.
And then once we stole the combs, then we would, you have this basin that's like a spinner on a dryer that centrifugally gets rotated and flings the honey out and it collects out of it. So, so anyway, I don't need a suit. But we got to unload the bees and put them in a particular spot. And we had a spot picked out. A bee apparently had crawled out at some point and had just hung out underneath the hive that we're trying to unload. And Jennifer's got their fancy gloves. I just grabbed some gloves or whatever. I don't think I had gloves. So I'm helping her get them off. And, of course, a bee stings me. Oh, my God. That had been just lingering around underneath there for the 80 bazillion hours that we were moving. Yeah. And that was a icing on the cake.
It was a good end of the day.
Yeah, it was. It's now 3 a.m. unloading bees, get stung, and it's one of those things. If you've ever been stung by one of those, it's like you're getting stung. It's like this ramp. It's like I think I'm getting stung. Ow, that really hurts. Yeah, it's like this point of realization is very slow. It's not like an instant.
Right.
So we get the bees unloaded. I dispose of the chickens down in a part of the wooded area because I know some varmints are going to take care of them. And I think we're done. And so the kids, Jennifer had put the kids to bed while I was handling the cows, and we had inflatable mattresses for them. Everybody, and she set up an inflatable mattress for us.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I took a shower, or I might have been too tired. Not sure.
Yeah.
And get to bed. It's probably 3, maybe 4 in the morning. I don't remember. It's just this is 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And go to bed. The next morning, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Jessica's waking me up. She's like, "Dad, the cows are out."
Oh my God.
I'm like, "No, the cows are not out. I already walked the fence. The cows are not out." She goes, "No, they're in our neighbor's place." I said, "There's no way that they're in the neighbor's yard because they had fenced pasture also." So we go. I get up, I start making coffee, and I look out, and we're in the laundry room. I look out, and sure enough, there's my cows. There's Blossom or Bessie, I can't remember the names of them, our milk cow, and the bull, and a couple other heifers.
Oh, my God.
So I'm like, I don't know how that could happen. There's no way that could happen because I secured that one spot in the fence.
Right.
And so I get completely dressed, and I walk over, and I'm like trying to find a place to get over to my neighbors or maybe hop the fence, and I walk out. This area that was at the corner of my property, there's like the side of the pasture that faced the road, that was all fenced. And the side that bordered him was fenced except for like 6 feet.
Oh, my God.
Which I did not notice when my perimeter wall, because I'm like walking. That's like an area he has brand new fencing because he bought 18 acres from the previous owner.
Gotcha.
And he fenced an area up to a certain point, but my fence went 6 feet further up to the road. Because I just looked at it when I was walking the perimeter. I was more concerned about the back 40 where people rarely go.
Right.
But there were 6 feet where nobody did anything.
And the cows found
0 fence. And of course they did. That's what they do. They find holes. So they apparently walked and they found that area. I don't know how long they lingered out there, but my neighbor, he got up and he gets up in the morning. He sees some cows walking along. And if you're around cows, there's a lead cow. There's a pecking order to every
herd,
every animal.
Okay.
every animal, every insect. And it's obvious who the lead is most of the time. So he grabs the lead of the one, walks up like he's got feed, grabs her, and then the others just follow. He just put it in his pasture rather.
Oh, gotcha.
So he tells me, the first time I meet my neighbors, hey, thanks for collecting my cows up.
Yeah.
And got to meet him. He was going through because he just saw some cows out in the middle of the road. So he policed them up, but then he called his neighbor on the other side, who was not fond of the original owner, not the guy we bought the house from or person we bought the house from, but the previous owner that built the place. And he proceeded to describe what he thought of that.
Oh, perfect.
In no uncertain terms to my daughter, who's like 12 years old at the time, and just what his thoughts of it. But it was just interesting to meet the neighbors. We got our cows back, and I secured the fence, not in that order. And that was it. That was the move.
So within 2 hours of your trip, you're stranded on the side of the road. On top of that, you also, when you get home, are going to have to deal with the fact that your truck is no longer working.
Oh, yeah.
So you're like, so it's just like, let's get home. Also, my truck doesn't work. Was that your vehicle? Or did you have another vehicle?
That was our only other vehicle. No, wait. I can't remember. I think we had a minivan that we had dropped off. That's right, because my son drove that minivan up, and he flew in and out of Huntsville Airport to go to the thing. So he had this green minivan that we had.
Okay, so at least you had another mode of transportation.
I had another mode.
And then, first off, what I thought you were going to say about the bees is that you picked them up out of the truck and they swarmed you somehow immediately and started to sting you, but they didn't sting you. I really wanted them to sting you because you were setting it up. I was like, if Adam doesn't get stung, I'm going to be really upset.
Well, I got stung. It wasn't as bad as what you imagined. But.
So, and then you're like, total relaxation, like, because obviously after that very stressful day, probably when you laid down, it was like,
that was some of the best sleep I've had better sleep, but that was some of the best.
Even on an air mattress. And then you're probably waking up and you're like, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, I might have me some coffee.
And then the first thing is like, I'd love to go find out that my cows are out. And then I would love a neighbor to tell me how terrible another human being is and like really bring me down a notch.
Yeah.
That is hands down the worst movie story I've ever heard.
Thank you.
By a lot. It's not even close.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
I don't like comparing, but that one's a doozy.
You understand if people are just trapped on the side of the road with their kids, they can't take it.
Right.
So if people are like, I have 2 kids and I was trapped on the side of the road for 2 hours. People were like, oh my God, how'd you survive? You're like, I have animals. I have a full family. I have
a stinky dog now in the Suburban.
Dog. So, I mean, that is the worst moving story. I feel for you. I'm glad you didn't get stung a whole bunch of times, only once.
Yeah, just once.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's the best move story I've ever heard.
So when somebody is talking to you and they don't know the story and they're telling you a terrible move story, are you just like...
I usually don't say anything.
Come on, man.
In fact, you've known me, what, 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah, at least, yeah.
Have you ever heard me tell that story?
Never. I've never heard you tell it.
I usually don't tell it because even when I was helping you move.
Yeah.
I'll allude to the fact that, like, yeah, we had a horrible move when we moved up. And I will say, yeah, we had to move some farm stuff up.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a miserable experience. And then that's it. I'm done. Because it's too much. It sounds made up.
If roles were reversed and that was my story, I would have a book written about it and I would hand it out to people when I help them move. I'd be like, here's your book. Just go ahead and thumb through it. If you thought this was bad, go ahead and
get ready.
Yeah, go ahead and read this. That is hands down the funniest thing I've ever. I mean, it's terrible. I can't even imagine the stress. If you're broke down on the side of the road, especially Highway 65, that's stressful.
It is.
But to be broke down on the side of the road with a family and cows and chickens and dog and cat and all these other things is probably, I can't even imagine. Well, it couldn't have happened to a more level-headed person because other people probably wouldn't have been able to make it through that situation.
Well, it was my wife again. She carried me through.
Yeah. But I mean, like you and Jen are pretty, it was a good couple to happen to because I think other people that I know might not deal so well with it, which is, neither here nor there. Did you ever help Mabry move? Were you there when we moved Mabry?
No, I wasn't.
So it wasn't a bad move. It was very easy. But literally everything you put your hands on in Mabry's house, became a joke, but he'd be like, hey, be careful with that. That was my great-grandfather's. And so we were like, oh, okay. And then we had this thing that was like, I guess they were using it as a changing table, and it was broken. I mean, it was broken. He was like, hey, guys, be careful with that. Don't break it. It's my grandpa's. And I was like, what in here is actually yours and not a precious family heirloom? Because I want to take care of that.
Yeah.
So it became this running joke. Because the thing that we moved, he was like, that's like 100 years old. It had like super glue on it. Like, I was like, well, he didn't fix it like this. Like, you fixed it like this. It's already been broken, you jerk.
I just saw this at Kmart.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I feel like he just had everything he had. He's like, careful with that 70-inch plasma.
Yeah.
That's my grandfather's.
That's my grandpa's.
Yeah.
He brought it over from England.
Yeah. He brought it over. He brought it with him from Nam. So it's pretty important. And the only other thing I have is me and Laura. So you helped us move. It was an easy move when you helped us move up to Elkmont.
It was fun.
It was pretty relaxing, especially when we got back to the house and started drinking.
Again, my bar for moving has changed completely after that move.
Yeah.
So now if I don't have an Allen wrench to put my furniture back together, okay, I'll go to the store.
Yeah. This is so much better. So when me and Laura moved from Pennsylvania to Myrtle Beach, that is a 9 or 10 hour drive.
Yeah.
But it was really, we were both just kind of starting out in life. Like, so we had enough stuff to furnish an apartment but like our dog Buddy at the time, and then really like nothing else. Like, so, but it was enough stuff that we were like, do we need a moving truck? And it was like, I think because we were super broke before we moved down there. So like,
sure. So
we were like, do we need a moving truck? And we were like, I had a Chevy Silverado and she had a Nissan Xterra, which is a very small SUV.
Right.
So I said, well, I think I can get the big stuff fit in my truck, and you can take the small stuff in your Xterra.
Yeah. It sounds like a great plan.
I mean, I would never do it again in my entire life. So we have everything that's important and expensive in the bed of my truck. And then
I see where you're going with this.
We're literally packing this thing up, and I look at Laura and I'm like, what if it rains?
You're right.
It's a 10-hour drive. And she was like, oh, I don't know. Does it just
That's a long way to go, friend.
I mean, the chances of us not hitting any rain are low.
Yeah.
So I go buy, not a tarp because we were broke. I bought just a big roll of plastic.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I was like tucking it in places, like closing it in the tailgate.
Did you have like bungee cords or anything?
No, I would never buy. We were broke. I wouldn't buy bungee cords. We had like packing tape. I was like packing tape stuff around it. And when I tell you so Buddy is also the worst car dog ever.
I can only imagine because I've seen the live footage of Buddy.
He's a nightmare. So I am the most stressed out person because I have our whole life in the back.
Yeah.
And we're going super slow because I basically have a sail on the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Like if it takes off. So nothing, like it didn't get rained on. I don't think we got lucky. But Laura calls me in a panic. We're like on the highway. We're like getting close. Like, oh, I can't wait to get there. It's going to be so good. She's like, I think I killed Buddy. So she didn't, obviously. He's still alive.
Yeah, I've seen him.
So he's such a terrible car dog that she was like, I'll give the doctor said we can give him some Benadryl.
Yeah.
Well, it made him very sleepy. So she's driving and hitting him.
And he's just not
responding.
Oh, man.
And so Laura's crying to me on the phone, and I was like, oh, my God. Like, I can't handle it. Like, when you're driving and you're afraid something's going to fly out, so you're, like, so, like, stressed, like, you're like everything.
You're just watching all the time.
I'm, like, tense for hours.
You feel wind gust. You're like.
So Laura's crying and telling me this. We pull off the side of the road, and I'm not even joking. She opens the door to get out, and Buddy just hops right out. I mean, just
that's hilarious.
He's like, what?
It's time to get out.
It's time to. I guess we're there, and that was the most stressful. So when we moved from Huntsville or from
Pennsylvania,
from Myrtle Beach to Huntsville, I was like, I don't care what it costs. We're getting a moving truck. We're gonna get the biggest moving truck. We're not gonna have any issues. And we packed. It was such. And Rachel drove my car. Laura drove her car, and then I drove the U-Haul. Mm-hmm. And then we had a car there. We flew Rachel back to Myrtle Beach at that time. But it was the most. I had like movies on my phone. Like I was like, there was like no stress. I was like, this is the easiest move I ever had in my whole life. Just driving along, because Rachel and Laura, when I tell you, I don't want to group a bunch of people together, but when they couldn't have been worse leaders in a chain. Like as soon as the highway opened up, they would like immediately get into the left lane and then take off 80 miles an hour. And I was like, well, I'll see those guys in a couple hours. Like I had no idea where I was going.
Yeah, but you had cell phones.
Oh yeah, it was. I wasn't worried about getting lost. I just was more worried about
or losing contact.
I was like, it's fine. It's fine. They're gone.
Yeah.
Laura and Rachel both drive 800 miles an hour. And here I am in the little U-Haul that says it's great for fuel efficiency on the thing. But it was
like 55 miles an hour max.
Yeah. They're like, it's really good on fuel as long as you don't go over 40.
Yeah.
But that wasn't super stressful compared to that. And nothing can be more stressful than your move. So
that was an event.
I feel pretty, I feel like now if I ever move, nothing could be that bad.
I don't think so.
Although I'll be honest with you, me and Laura have just been talking about buying a farm. Like just recently, talking about buying some acres. It doesn't have to be anywhere, but like just maybe in where we're at now or in Tennessee, like right over the border in Tennessee or something like that.
Well, it's nice to have acreage because there's a lot you have more latitude to do what you want with it.
Right.
But once you start bringing animals on, that's now you've upped the ante. And there's you can never go away without taking care of those.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having fresh eggs, I miss having fresh eggs, miss having fresh unpasteurized milk. Miss that. And there's a lot of stuff you can make out of that unpasteurized milk, especially Jersey milk, which is what we had. Anyway, there's a lot of, we might talk about that sometime about like Homestead Farm. What's that about?
Yeah.
That might be something.
James talks about?
Well, I don't know if James would talk about it. I know, like clearly he can talk about farm stuff.
Yeah.
But like the milk stuff, because he's more of a beef
That's right.
guy.
You're right.
But the milk stuff and the symbiotic nature of like a small scale homestead farm with you got cows, chickens, goats, pigs, honeybees. It all kind of works in concert. And it, by design.
What milk is illegal to sell? Isn't that
unpasteurized?
Unpasteurized milk. So you couldn't take your unpasteurized milk and sell it legally.
You can sell it. There's two ways you can do it that kind of skirts. One is really a skirt, which is selling it as pet food.
Okay.
And we bought pet food before.
Okay.
That was.
Yeah.
But you can also sell undivided shares of your cows.
Okay.
Which we did. We sold undivided shares of our jerseys that we milked.
Okay.
And so friends of ours that were interested in the byproduct from that undivided share, like literally I had a legal document. You're going to buy an undivided share of my cow. So in other words, they can't subdivide it.
Okay, gotcha.
And so the byproduct of owning an undivided share of that cow is, hey, there happens to be some milk. Do you want this milk?
It's yours. You legally own it.
You legally own it.
That's very interesting.
So we sold undivided shares of our cows that we could they could partake in that milk.
That's very interesting.
Maybe we can talk about that in the future.
We should absolutely talk about that in the future.
Yeah. There is nothing like fresh, raw milk.
I've never had it.
It is so good. It is so good.
I love milk too.
It is, and you can make butter out of it. You can make kefir, use grain to make kefir, buttermilk, real buttermilk. There are all kinds of great things.
Does it taste a lot different than pasteurized milk?
Not too much. It's more rich.
Okay, gotcha.
And
like creamier almost, like thicker?
Well, the cream separates depending on the breed of the cow. Like Holsteins, they're a high volume cow that produce a lot of milk, but there's not a lot of milk fat in it that separates. Jersey is the highest milk fat per volume.
Okay.
And it separates really quick. Dexter, we also had Dexters. And Dexters have pretty close to what a Jersey produces in milk fat content, but it comes out more homogenized.
Okay.
So we'd milk the Jersey, and so you milk the cow, and then you take and you filter out, like you pour the milk through literally a little paper filter, like a coffee filter.
Yeah.
To filter out any impurities.
Oh, okay.
Because you're milking, and so there's
dirt, whatever.
There's dirt, there's skin cells, there's hair.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
And all that stuff gets filtered out, and then we would bottle it in these big 2-quart mason jars and put it in the fridge. Like half an hour later, you got a head of cream on there like that. And that's where I fell in love with cream in my milk, or my coffee, rather.
I was like, you put cream in your milk?
Yeah, absolutely.
My God.
But you take a head of, I wasn't much of a, put creamer in milk, or in coffee.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I got all this cream just all over the place, so I just put a dollop in there, and it took a while to stir it in there because of that. It's so thick.
Right.
And then you taste that, and it's like,
so good.
Oh, it's so like good. Manna. It's like so delicious.
Maybe one day I get to try that.
I miss it. I miss a lot of that farm lifestyle, but yeah. So anyway, that's the Movin story.
I loved it.
It was an event, an adventure. I enjoyed it. It's a great story now. At the time, it was like a nightmare. I was like, I don't know how this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's those permutations you're going through your mind, like, how am I going to get this convoy there?
Yeah.
And we're only halfway there. So at any rate, it was fun. And so all other moving stories, when people start telling their moving stories, I'm like, I just kind of like nod and like, okay, yeah.
You're like,
okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awful. You got a flat tire on the highway. Oh, no.
So anyway, let us know what you think, and we'd appreciate your feedback. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I loved it.
And we'll be back. Let us know what you think of the shirts, too.
Yeah, these are going to be on sale pretty soon, so keep an eye out. We'll put them on sale for you guys to pre-order, and then you'll be able to show your friends. They'll be jealous. It's a great shirt.
Absolutely. That logo is just awesome.
It's amazing. It's an amazing logo.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You see that? All right.
Yeah. So without further ado, we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.